Hello guys, today we're going to study P5 Factoring Polynomials. Example 1, we have factoring out the greatest common factor. So let's look at part A. 18x cubed plus 27x squared. So if you look at this 18 and 27, what is the greatest common factor for those numbers? We realize both they have, you can break this down as 3 multiplied 3 multiplied 2. So if I can do this for 27, so I realize the greatest common factor is just going to be 9. So we're going to take a 9, and then also I realize here we have x cubed, x squared, so that will be x squared. So once I take this 9 out, so what is left is a 2 right here. That will be 2x, then plus, left out here, I take a 9 out from 27, I'm going to have a 3 left. So then we're done. So let's look at part B. So in this case, if we look, we both have x plus 3, x plus 3. Okay, just to think about this together is one number. So if we do that, if I take x plus 3 out, I realize what's left over, that is x squared left over here. And then here we have what left, that will be 5 left. So that is how we do this type of questions. Okay, let's go ahead work on the example 2. Example 2, we have factoring by grouping. So when we group those, so I realize both they have x squared. Just like example 1 we had that. So I take x squared out, and here we only have x left. And plus, the second term I take x squared out, the only thing I have left is 4. Then I look at the second group. So those group I only have 3 and 12. I'm going to have a 3, take a 3 out. So I'm going to factor this, that will have x plus 4 left. So once we have this, it's actually similar to the first example, part B. So in this case, we're going to take x plus 4 out. And then what's left over here is our x squared, and then in this group what left over, that is 3. And then you're done. Example 3, we have the factoring a trinomial whose leading coefficient is 1. There's many methods you can use. So first we're going to have our a, in this case we're just in the leading term, is to have an invisible 1. Alright, so a is 1, we have b is 6, and then we have c equals 8. And we have ac. That means a multiplied c, we have a b right here. So in this case, our a multiplied c is just going to be 8. And then our term b is just going to be 6. Make sure you know where those numbers come from. You're going to think about two numbers. Two numbers multiplied together give you 8, and then add together give you 6. Then you're going to think, okay, so I have 8, and I'm going to think about two numbers. I can think of 1, 8. I can think about 2, 4. So in this case, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to think like, hey, I have a 2 and 4. They multiply together and give me 8. And then they add them together give me 6. So then I can write this in this form. I have x plus 2 and x plus 4. Okay, hopefully that will be helpful for you. Again, if you learn this different method from your other teacher, which is fine, you can just use whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, let's go ahead and work on the next question. Factoring a trinomial whose leading coefficient is 1. So we have another one. So I'm going to make a chart again here. So a times c, in this case, gives us negative 18. And then my b is a 3. So I put a b right here is a 3. Then I'm going to think again. So negative 18. You think about two numbers multiply together give you negative 18, and then add together give you 3. Okay, so I can think about 118. Okay, so right now I'm not going to worry too much about sign this moment. Then I can think about 2, 9, and then I can think about 3, 6. And then in this case, if you look, so I don't have 6 and 3, because 6 times 3 give me 18. Alright? So I'm going to figure out now which sign should I use. Should I have negative 6, or should I going to have negative 3? So since b is a positive, and then if b is 3, the number, in this case is 6, is bigger, that should be positive. The small number should be negative. Okay, because when we add them, we want a positive number, right? 6 plus negative 3 give you positive 3. I'm going to write my answer. So remember, you can always check your answer for this type of question. So if I want to check my answer, all I have to do is I'm just going to write down the solution. Then I'm going to do just use flow method or what method you like to use. So I'm going to double check that will be x squared minus 3x plus 6x and minus 18. Then I simplify this. I realize that will be x squared plus 3x minus 18. So then double check, is the question was the original question, is it the same? So if it's the same, then you got it correct. Okay? Always double check your answer. Example 5, factoring a trinomial whose leading coefficient is not 1. If we have to factor this 8x squared minus 10x minus 3, so there's a couple methods we can do. So if you learn this from other teachers and then you like to use the method they taught you, so you can just use that method. So I'm going to introduce you guys, this is called the box method. So we're going to write 8x squared here. They're going to write negative 3, which is what you see right there. So once we have this, so I'm going to think, alright, so what is my A times C? A times C, in this case, our A is 8, and then, so B is negative 10, and our C is negative 3. So A times C is just 8 times negative 3, which is negative 24. Like we done early, alright, multiply, give you negative 24, they add together give you B. In this case is negative 10. So which is, right, if you want to pause the video, if you think for a second, you can. Okay, that is negative 12 and 2. So once we have this, so what we're going to do is, we're going to go ahead and factoring. Okay, let's look at this direction, ax squared and negative 12x. Since this number 8 is a positive, we're always going to have a positive right here. Always positive right here. They're going to be the same, positive, positive. Ax squared and negative 12x. We're going to factor out the greatest common factor. In this case, that will be 4. Then we're looking at this horizontal block again. We have 2x, we have negative 3. So in this case, again, if this is a positive 2x, positive number, so I'm always going to factor positive out. 2x and negative 3 is only positive 1 will come out here. Okay? Now we're going to look at this column. We have ax squared. We're going to have a 2x. The greatest common factor, that will be 2x. Alright? You look at the column now. And then now we'll look like negative 12x and negative 3. You look at negative 12 right here, we must have negative number right here as well. So in this case, that would be negative 3. That would be the greatest common factor. So which means our final answer is going to be, we'll look right here, that's a 2x minus 3. And then we have, look at this column, we're going to have 4x plus 1. Okay, then you are done. So if you check your answer, I'm checking my answer, that will be ax squared, and then we're going to plus 2x minus 12x and then minus 3. So that's exactly our original question, right? So let's go back to the original question. That's exactly the same. So that means we got it right. If you don't like this method, you don't have to use it. So example 6, factoring a trinomial in 2 variables. So again, I'm going to think of my A, B, C, okay? So in this case, I'm going to write A equals 2, B equals, because I treat my x as my variable, everything else I treat them like a number. So then that means my B is negative 7y, and then my C is 3y squared. Okay? I'm using the same method, A times C. So A is 2, and C is this number, so we're going to get 6y squared. Right? I just multiplied them. That is just the same thing as 2 multiplied 3y squared. So I put it right here, 3y squared. And then I'm going to write the B. The value of B is negative 7y. Again, you're doing the same thing. I'm going to think I have 2 numbers. I multiply them together, give me 6y squared. And add them together, give me negative 7y. If you think here, we're going to have 6y, then you're going to have a 1y. So they multiply together, give you a positive 6y squared. But when they add them together, it doesn't give you negative 7y. So we need to put the negative sign for both terms right here. Once we finish this step, I realize that your a is 2, it's not 1. So we have to work a little bit further. So we have to use both sides, divide by a. Okay, in our case, our a is 2. That would be negative 6y divided by 2, give me negative 3y. Then here, that would be negative 1/2 y. So we're going to get those two numbers. So I can say that will be just equal to, once I factor them, so I'm going to have x minus 3y, x minus 1/2 y. So because we do not want the fraction, so we're going to give rid of the fraction, okay? In this case, the denominator 2, I'm just going to multiply 2 here, and multiply 2 in the right side term too. What happens is 2 times x, right? And then minus 2 times 1/2 y is just going to be 2x minus y. So that is your final answer. If you don't like this method and make you confused, then let's try the box method again in this case. So we're going to have a leading term right here. That will be 2x squared. So I also have my term c. C term is 3y squared. And then we realize the middle term is right here is xy, and then right here is xy. So earlier we realized this number is negative 6 right here and negative 1 right here. Okay? So once we have this, we're just going to factor the horizontal right here, and that will be, we're going to factor 2x out. Then here, the second row, we're going to factor negative y out. And then we're going to factor the column, that will be x. We're going to factor x out, and then here, again, right here is negative. That's why you're going to have negative as well. We're going to factor negative 3y out, the greatest common factor. So once you have those, so if you look, you get exactly the same answer, which is 2x minus y, and then we're going to have x minus 3y. They're exactly the same, right? So let's see if you can, hopefully don't get too confused. So this number right here goes right there, right? So this number right there, make it 1, I'll put it right here. The xy is just a term in the middle. See, this is xy. Alright guys, let's go ahead and work on the next example. Example 7, we have factoring the difference of 2 squares. Okay, if you forgot the formulas, let's go ahead and write it down. Okay, so part A, we have x squared minus 4, which this is straightforward. I can rewrite this as x squared minus 2 squared. So which means this is my A and then this is my B. So I'm going to rewrite this the whole thing. I'm going to factor it. That will be A, which is, in our case, A is 1. And in our case, the B is 2. Okay, so we had an x squared minus 2 squared. So if you put them all together, you realize, okay, that's my x, right? And then that is my A, actually. Then here is my B. See, that if it's difficult for you to just sort of stare at it, you know, you don't get it. So write it down. Just write them right below it to each other. So that way it's easy for you. Just plug those numbers in. So your final answer, I already write it on the right side. So part B is 81x squared and then minus 49. First, we want to write it in the square form. So in this case, 81, I can rewrite it as 9 squared, right? 9 squared, x squared. And then 49, I can write it 7 squared. So again, I'm going to rewrite this a little bit even more better. So 9x, the whole thing squared, minus 7 squared. So I'm going to write it down the formula. Again, the important part is you need to know what's A, what's B. So in our case, if you compare them, this 9x, the whole thing is our A. Our B is just going to be 7. So that would be A is 9x, that will be plus b, which is 7, and then we're going to have ax minus 7. Example 8. Example 8, we have a repeated factorization. So because we have just learned, right, a squared minus b squared, how to factor it. So I can rewrite this as x to the 4th power is the same thing as x squared, then squared, right? Then I can write 81 as 9. Okay, so once we rewrite this, we're going to treat this as my a squared, right, minus b squared form, okay? So which means this is going to be x squared plus 9, right, because that's my a, and then we're going to have x squared minus 9. So once we have this, then we're just going to double check our breakdown. If you look at right here, a squared plus 9, often we have students want to continue this. The only reason we can factor it or factor the difference of the two squares. So since it's plus, you cannot factor it. You just leave that part alone or leave it alone. So now we're going to have another case, the same thing as the earlier way down, pretty similar. So it's the difference again. So I can actually rewrite this as x squared minus 3 squared, right? Now this is my new a, this is my new b. That is the form, the a squared minus the b squared form. In this case, if we follow the steps we have done early, then we're going to have x plus, in this case our b is 3, that will be plus 3, and then x minus 3. Example 9, factoring perfect square trinomial. So before we're factoring, so hopefully you guys can remember this. You need to remember those. Okay, let's take a look. So for part A, you can rewrite this as x squared plus 6x plus 3 squared. So when you look right here, you're going to realize, hopefully, you're going to realize actually your a is just going to be x, and then we have b is just going to be 3. Again, this is not something new, guys, right? So I could rewrite this again if I wanted to, if you guys still don't realize how this works. I could write x squared plus, because we said the 2ab, I'm going to write the 2 times 3x and then plus 3 squared. Then you should have realized by now, you know, this is just the formula of the a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, which our ab we realize is already x, and then plus b, which is plus 3, and then we have a square. For this type of question, you really, once you're used to it, it's really fast for you, hopefully. Alright, 25x squared, and then minus 60x, and then plus 36. When you do this type of question, let's write this as, now I can write 5x, then square, then minus 60x, and then plus 6 squared form. So once we have this, you realize that's your a, and then this is your b, right? That's the a squared, then here is the b squared, minus 2 times ab plus b squared. So if you want to, alright, if you still don't realize what's going on right here, so I can rewrite the middle term as 2 times my a we set is 5x, and then my b was 6. You just make sure double check, does it actually give me exactly this formula? So if you realize here 2 times 5 times 6 is actually 6, okay? If you realize this, you really don't have to do anything. You can just go ahead, you know, follow the steps. I'm just going to break it down for you. So once we realize everything, then I say this is the form of the second right here. That will be a minus b, the whole thing squared. In our case, we're going to have 5x minus 6, the whole thing squared. Then you are done. Example 10, factoring sum and difference to cubes. Let's go ahead and write this formula down. Let's go ahead and do this. I will write the question right below it. Okay, so I have part A, I have x cubed, and then 8, I can rewrite this as 2 cubed, right? Now we have our AB, it's just right below it, so easy for us to see. So in our case, our A is just your x, and then B is just going to be 2. Okay, let's try it. I'm just going to plug it in, okay? And then my A, I remember that's X, it's a yellow color, and then subtract. And then that will be X, and then B is a number 2, then plus B squared. So I'm going to simplify this the whole thing a little bit better. That will be X plus 2. That will be X squared. We forgot square right here. Then minus the 2X, and then plus 4. So that is our final answer. Part B, we're doing the same thing right here. So I'm going to rewrite this as 64. I'm going to rewrite this right here. That will be 4 to the cube, x cubed. Then have 125. If you don't realize, you can write this way. We're going to have a 5, right? Divide 5 gave you 25. And then I try again 5. And then divide by 5 give you 5. So I realize this is a 5 cubed. So I'm going to write down here 5 cubed. So I'm going to write this whole thing. That will be 4x cubed minus 5 cubed. So now we can look at our A and B. So it's the same thing we have done early. So which means we're going to have 4x minus a 5. And then we're going to have 4x. We set this the whole thing. Square and plus 4x. And then multiply B, which is a 5. And plus 5 squared. Alright. So now we look at this. So we simplify it a little bit. So this is going to be 4x minus 5. And then here we're going to have a 4x squared. It's just going to be 16x squared. Then plus, in this term, we're going to become 20x. Then plus 25. And that is my final answer. Again, once you find your A, B, the rest you just kind of just plug in. Right? There's nothing really special here. Number 11, factoring a polynomial. So in this case, first, you always try to factor out the greatest common factor first. In this case, we have 2, 8, 8. Okay, the number that will be 2. We can factor 2 out. Then we also have an x cubed, x squared, and x. I realize I can factor the x out. So what's left over here is going to be x squared plus 4x and then plus 4. And then you can try all the different methods. Once you get used to it, you'll realize this is something unique. If you don't realize this, you can always do this method AC, and then this is a B. Then you can use this old method. So you're going to have AC, you can put a 4 right here, and then B is a 4 as well. And two numbers multiply together give you 4, and add together give you 4, which is going to be 2 and 2. So you're going to have x plus 2 and x plus 2. So you can use that way as well. So I can finally write your answer. That would be x plus 2 squared. Okay? Example 13. So this question looks really complicated first. So let's take a look at how we do this. The first thing you should notice is that, okay, here we have x plus. There's something I should be able to do. So again, you always want to do step 1 is to factor the greatest factor out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take x plus 1 to the negative 3 over 4 out. What's left over in here is the first term is only have x left. And the second term is kind of tricky. That's the same thing as x plus 1 and 1 over 4. You're basically dividing, because you're taking out x plus 1, negative 1 over 4. Thinking about this, if we had 8x and then we have, let's say, 4x squared. Okay, when you take the 4x out, you're truly doing is you're using the 8x dividing 4x. That's what left over is 2. Right? The same thing as here. You take a 4x out, you are actually doing is you take the 4x, you're just dividing them. Then I realize this is just going to have x left. That is the process you have done. So if I dividing them, then I realize this is my form. Right, I learned this a while ago. When I have the same base, we're just going to use n minus n. So in this case, same base is x plus 1. I'm just going to use 1/4 minus my n is negative 3 over 4. In this case, I simplified it. That means I'm just going to plus them together. It's going to give you 1. So what is left, the second term, is just going to be x plus 1 and power 1. Right, let's change this to the bracket. So now I'm going to write it nicely. So in this case, since it's power 1, I'm just going to have 2x plus 1. Once you get higher math, it doesn't really matter. So right now, all the negative exponents, they want you to turn it positive. Okay? Well, in this case, all you have to do is, that will be the 2x plus 1 over x plus 1 to the 3 over 4 power. How can you know that? Because if you have an a to negative nth power, it's the same thing as 1 over a to the nth power. So that's the reason why we can bring this whole thing to the denominator, and then the 1 is just disappeared. That's why that is your final answer. That is the P5. I know it's a lot of examples. Some of them you already know. You can just fast forward. Okay guys? Thank you for watching, and see you next time.